Hello and welcome to Miss Johnson's Science Lab. Today we're going to be learning all about surface area. What is surface area and why is it important to learn about in science? Well, surface area is a measurement of all the space of a surface of a three-dimensional shape. What's a three-dimensional shape, you may ask? Well, good question. A three-dimensional shape is something that has a height, how tall it is, a width, how wide it is, and a depth, how deep it is. The multiplication, or putting all these together, determines how much surface area an object has, how much space it takes up. Why is this important in science? Well, basically, surface area is important in science because when things touch, things react, and depending on how much surface area things have determines how they're going to react. Let's think about this a little bit. When you set fire to a log, it might not work as good as if you set fire to a lot of little wood chips, even if it is the same amount of wood in that log. And this is because when you're setting fire to a log, well, the surface area is in a smaller amount of space and it's more concentrated and it doesn't catch as easily. But if you cut up the log into little pieces and distribute the wood chips everywhere, they're little and they catch in flames quicker, and it spreads wider because it's taking up more surface area. Can you think of anything else that's sort of like that example in your own life? This might be a little bit difficult to think about, and that's okay. We're going to explore it today. First, we're going to start off by looking at a piece of paper. So what you're going to need for the surface area experiment is a piece of paper, scissors, and a pencil if you like. My mission to you, before we get into any experiment I show you how to do it, is I want you to try to make this piece of paper. It has to be connected into something that you can walk through. So how can you manipulate this piece of paper into something that we can actually step through as a person? So you're going to pause this video and you're going to go ahead and try. So pause in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. How did that go? Did you try to cut up this piece of paper so that you could step through it? And how did it go? Did you try it out? Some of you might have. But I bet a lot of you had some objects that looked like this, which is completely valid and exactly what you would think to do because you used the widest part of the paper. So it seems logical that would be the way to make it as big as it could be, right? But does it work? Let's try. Well, not really. I can barely get my head in it, let alone my body. So how do we fix that? So what we're doing in this part is we're just taking the edges of an object. And we're not utilizing all the space that it has. We're simply just using the edges. When we can figure out a way to use the space that all of the inside of this paper is when we can make it longer, because when we make just the frame, we're letting go of an opportunity to use all the space on the inside. So let's see how this works. So we're going to ditch our old one for a second. We're going to grab another piece of paper. What I want you to do is to fold it in half, just like this, and draw with a pencil lines that go like this across the page. So you're going to, about a couple centimeters wide, draw a line that goes to the bottom but doesn't meet the bottom. And then you're going to do the same on the opposite side and go to the top. But again, you want to make sure that these lines don't meet the bottom, that there's a little gap. And this is really important. When you're done, it should look something like this. So go ahead and pause this video and we'll come back to when we made it to this step. Awesome. Welcome back. So what you're going to do next is you're going to take your beautiful creation you have so far and you're going to find the end in which is open. So there's two sides, one that has a fold and one that's open. And you're going to look at all the slits that you created on the open side, and you're going to cut them following the line with scissors until you've made it all the way to the other end of the paper. And you should have something that looks like this. So go ahead and pause this video and return when you've made it to this step. Okay, welcome back. Moving on, we're going to do the exact same thing. You guessed it. on the other side. So go ahead and cut the piece of paper, making sure you cut all the slits you created. If you're not done yet, go ahead and pause this video. And I'll return when we're all completed. Okay, awesome. Welcome back. Now you've made some sort of weird contraption, almost like a slingy or a swing. How do we make this into something we can walk through? I want you to go and look at your piece of paper and find the ends of the piece of paper. There's your paper folds in half, but there's also parts of it that's connected. I want you to take the connected parts at each end, and I don't want you to touch them. Leave them alone. What you're gonna do with your scissors is you're gonna take every other part of the paper that's connected, and you're gonna cut it. Again, you're not cutting the very first one. You're leaving that connected because it's gonna turn into a circle. And so the circle needs to stay connected somehow, and that's exactly how it's gonna do it. So go ahead and cut all the other parts of your creation that are connected to each other, leaving the ones at the front and the back connected. And now the big reveal is you can open up and you've been able to utilize all of the paper, all of the surface area that the paper contains, therefore something that you can walk through. So if you look at what we started out with, looking at only part of the paper, part of the surface area of the paper we had, we weren't able to fit through it. Once we found a way to use all of the surface area of the paper, we were able to just walk through it. Isn't that amazing? And it just demonstrates what surface area is and why it's so cool and why it's so important. And it can tell us so many things about how things react and how things work. And when we manipulate surface area and utilize surface area in different ways, it allows us to do so many different things. So as you move forward, what do you think might make this even bigger? What do you think would make this smaller? Would the width that we cut the paper make a difference? Would the paper that we use make a difference? Could you do this with a sticky note or with an index card? What I challenge you to see who can make the biggest and maybe what factors cause them to do that. Have fun exploring, and thank you so much for joining Mrs. Johnson's quick little science lab. I'll see you all again soon. Bye, everyone.